My peoples, my peoples. Welcome to Box Center. Welcome to Box Center. I'm your host, JSmiff. You already know what it is, man. Your favorite boxers, favorite boxing show. Check it, my peoples. Today, we're going to talk about Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora. Now, check it. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because there's people been telling me that, they'd be interested in seeing a rematch between, a lot of people saying that they'd be interested in seeing a rematch between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And I'll tell you what, that rematch is super interesting. And I believe it does over 1 million pay-per-views. But only if Errol can get past Fundora. Is that going to happen? We're going to find out. I'm not ready to just go against Errol. We already know what he's done in the sport of boxing. And, Fundora, he's also an elite level fighter. So I would say a while back, I would have definitely picked Spence to win that fight. But here's what I think a lot of people don't consider. Errol Spence has been out of boxing for over a year at this point. He hasn't been in the gym. He hasn't been training. And he took a bad beating to Bud Crawford. That was a nasty beating. I've, been following boxing for a very long time, and I can tell you, I've seen a lot of fighters take a beating and not be the same again. Never be the same after that. Remember after Maidana gave Broner that beating? Broner was never the same. If you go back in history, there's been, oh my God, remember Tommy Morrison? If you've been watching long enough, you may have seen Tommy Morrison also take a nasty beating and also never come back to being the same guy that he was before that. So we haven't seen Errol Spence yet after he lost to Crawford. We haven't seen it. So I think when we see Spence versus Fundora, that's when we're going to find out if he's actually ready for that type of action, if he's still the old Errol Spence, that we're used to. Because I see a lot of people assuming, well, Errol is Errol, he's gonna batter Fundora. Yo, we don't know what Errol Spence we're gonna get. If we're gonna get the old Errol Spence, then I believe he's gonna beat Fundora. Hands down. However, I don't know. Oh, shit. Houston, yo, shout out to Houston, Texas, my peoples. What's good, my boy? Appreciate you tuning in. Yo, Box Center, my peoples. If you love boxing, this is going to be your favorite boxing channel. I promise you. You might as well go ahead and subscribe right now. If you're not going to subscribe right now, eventually you will. I promise you. But talking boxing, come home. Yo, check this out, man. We gonna come home eventually. You know what I'm saying? God is gonna make that happen. Trust me on that. In the meantime, we gotta continue to talk boxing. You know why? Because boxing is what's gonna bring me back home. So we gotta keep it going, my boy. But yeah, yo, subscribe to the channel. I promise you, we giving you that serious boxing, my peoples. But what do you think, man? Do you think Errol Spence is going to be the same guy that we saw before Bud Crawford? Or, is he not going to be the same anymore? I think about Arturo Gatti, Mike Tyson, Adrian Broner, and other fighters, who they took a nasty beating and they was never the same again. It was a wrap after that. That's it. So, is Spence going to be able to bounce back and be that same Errol that we've seen, pre-Bud Crawford? We're about to find out. Because, if he loses to Fundora, there's no possibility of a rematch. We could forget about that. However, if Errol Spence looks spectacular versus Fundora, gets the stoppage or looks really good in that fight and wins, then people are going to be talking about that rematch. That buzz is going to get started again. Because right now, Crawford, we already know he's close to retirement. He's hinted at maybe 1 or 2 more fights. The fact that he's not able to get the Canelo fight next, possibly because, Canelo's been talking to Turkey, His Excellency Turki Alalshikh. But the fact that, Crawford is close to retiring, that means that Errol has to get that fight ASAP. He has to get that rematch ASAP. So if he was to lose to Fundora, that rematch is off. There's no possibility of that rematch. He has to win that fight. And I believe he has to win that fight in spectacular fashion for Crawford to say, you know what, let's do this rematch. Let's do it. If Errol loses, there ain't no rematch. If he wins, but it's a close fight and people feel like it was a robbery, like a real fight where you don't know who won, he's not getting that rematch. I don't believe it. So at this point, Terrence Buck Crawford is trying to get Canelo Alvarez. In fact, I seen on Blue Blood Sports where he said, "Yo, I don't know what was the source, but I think it was Turkey. In fact, said that Bud wants Canelo next, and if not, he may retire." So how is Errol gonna get a rematch if Crawford is looking at one last fight with the face of boxing to walk away from the sport as as the king of boxing? So right now I don't see Errol fitting into that picture for Crawford. However, if he looks spectacular versus Fundora and the fight with Canelo cannot be made, then hey, it can happen. It can actually happen. Ooh, yo, John Rojas, what's good, my boy? Yo, Texas been in the building. Yo, Texas been rocking with me. I don't know if because I'm talking about Errol Spence and whatnot, but yo, Texas been rocking with me lately. I appreciate y'all, man, for real. When I get back to the States, Texas is one of those states that I need to visit. I always wanted to go to Texas, man, because I've been on the East Coast. My whole time out there, I was on the East Coast, New York, New Hampshire. I did go to the South, to Miami Beach. Never been to Texas, though, man. I got to go to Texas. You know what I mean? Go Horns, baby. Yeah. So you being from Texas, my boy, what you think, man? You think we're going to get the same Errol Spence that we had before he fought Bud Crawford? Because I've been telling people, man, we're all assuming it's going to be the same Errol. Everybody's like, oh, no, Errol's going to do him. But honestly, man, I'm not sure. I've been watching boxing long enough to where I've seen guys take a nasty beating and never be the same again. I've seen that multiple times. Off the top of my head, I could start naming dudes who took that serious beating, and that's it. After that fight, they was never the same. So, with Errol Spence, he lost to Crawford. He's been inactive for over a year at this point. He hasn't been in the gym. If you see the pictures, he's been a little bit overweight and all that good stuff. So I think that combination, a nasty beating, out of the gym, out of shape, inactive, I think all of those factors can, put together the perfect storm to where he may not be the same. I'm not saying that he won't be. All I'm saying is that I personally need to see him versus Fundora in order to determine, okay, we got the same Errol Spence back. Or to say, oh, shit. Because let me tell you something, my peoples. And this is not talked about in boxing enough. But a lot of fighters, when they get knocked out or when they take a bad beating, their punch resistance goes down. So these same guys who's taking some big shots and took them like nothing, now they take a big shot, legs get wobbly. Or they take a big shot, they go down. So punch resistance is something that people don't talk about a lot. But once a guy's been hurt real bad, you got to see how he's going to bounce back. Is he going to be the same? Is he going to be able to handle punishment the same way or not? Again, I have to see Errol versus Fundora in order to see where he's at. Ooh, Paulie Ayala. Ooh, Paulie was my guy. Paulie, he was such a sharp, he was very accurate. His punch placement, his ring IQ. Paulie, his prime, he had it all. I remember when he fought Broner, I was like, oh man, Paulie, he moving up in divisions like that. Like he was too small. He looked too small for Broner. And I thought that was a horrible fight for him to make. But, it's a business. I'm pretty sure he was paid well to fight, a young, hungry Adrian Broner. And it went down the way that it did. But Paulie was no joke. Paulie is a Texas legend. You know what I'm saying? And you know what happens with Paulie Malignaggi? That he wasn't a knockout artist. And because of that, he doesn't get the credit that he deserved. People kind of overlook him. Paulie was the truth, man. Paulie was the truth. Fight his ass off. Always let his hands go from the inside, from the outside. Go for the body, for real. So, to be honest, now that you mention him, I think about the fact how many times I told people like, Paulie has never really gotten his flowers, from folks who follow boxing. He's kind of like someone who has such a great career, and people kind of forgot about him. I think Paulie was basically getting more attention from being a commentator and making some controversial remarks. I remember he said some things about Devin Haney, and he said some things about black fighters, and because of that, I think that people just don't see like what Paulie really did in the game of boxing. Plus, that Paulie, he fought in an era where social media had not exploded yet. YouTube had not exploded yet. So, we didn't get to the new generation of boxing fans. They didn't really get to see Paulie Malignaggi like that. I think, if you're younger than your maybe late 30s or younger than your 40s, you probably didn't see Paulie. You just heard of him. Paulie Malignaggi, man, he was the truth. He's for real. He was always for real. Always gave us an entertaining fight to watch. Ooh, Julio Cesar Chavez. Ooh. Listen, let me tell you something interesting about Julio Cesar Chavez. My first fight, I was 11 years old. My pops took me to a friend's house to watch Julio Cesar Chavez versus Meldrick Taylor. And, I was 11 years old. I was rooting for Meldrick Taylor because when I saw both of them, Taylor, he looked ripped. He looked strong. And Chavez, he didn't really have muscles like that. He looked all plain. He looked like an average Joe to me. So I was like, nah, this guy's going to beat him up. And we saw how that fight played out. At the end, there was the controversy of the stoppage, Richard Steele, and all that good stuff. So right there, I fell in love with boxing, y'all. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like the way that whole fight played out, it showed you that it's really never over until it's over. When you say that phrase, they should put a picture of Chavez and Meldrick Taylor. Because if you remember that fight, man, Taylor won every round. Every round, Taylor won. and then he made that mistake in the last round. And also, you may recall, in the 11th round, Lou Duva told him in the corner, don't fight with this guy. Don't trade with this guy. We got this fight in the bag. After the 11th round finished, when he was going to go out for the last round, don't fight with him. What did Taylor do? Go toe-to-toe with Chavez, and it costed him. Now, I tell you what, that's probably one of the fights, Chavez versus Taylor, that's probably one of the fights that I've seen the most. I've seen that fight many times. And this is what I realized after watching that fight all those times. Even though Meldrick was winning every round convincingly, Chavez was landing the harder shots in every round. So in every round, Chavez would land 2 or 3 hard ones. Boom! But those hard shots would be overshadowed by the rain of punches that Meldrick was laying on Chavez. Meldrick was letting his hands go from the first round. And it was combinations all day long. So because of that, whenever Chavez landed really hard, it didn't really show. We didn't really even notice it. But when you watch the fight again, every round Chavez is landing a few hard shots. And they're just taking a lot of punishment himself. So I believe those shots were adding up, and breaking Meldrick Taylor down up until we saw what happened in that last round. El Maromero Perez. He was a great boxer, man. He was. If you recall, he even gave Floyd a hard time. Of course, Floyd beat him, but he was a very, very good fighter, man. Very, very good fighter. That's the thing, man. Guys, and I can say that about Mexican fighters, Mexican fighters in their prime are nearly impossible to stop. It's rare for you to see a Mexican fighter in his prime get knocked out. They don't get knocked out. You gotta wait. For Mexican fighters, usually you gotta wait till they washed up to knock them out. But when they're in their prime, it's just not happening, B. It's just not happening. The punch resistance with Mexicans is crazy. Mexicans are warriors, and they have, they're known for that. I've seen Canelo take the type of punches I've seen Canelo take the type of punches that will sleep a bunch of people. That would fold the average Joe. And Canelo ate those like a motherfucking burrito. So, Mexicans are warriors, man. They really are. That Aztec blood. I'm telling you. All you have to do is look at the best Mexican fighters. Like the top level guys. And you see that most of them, during their prime, was never even dropped. They didn't even visit the canvas. Most of them. If you look at Julio Cesar Chavez, I think the first time he got dropped, he had like 60, 70 fights or something like that. The first time that he ever got dropped. De La Hoya, you saw his whole career, he needed to go all the way to 168 to actually get beat up by Hopkins. Somebody way bigger than him. If you look at Canelo never been dropped in his career. Canelo never even been hurt. Never even been wobbled in his whole career. Look how many fights he got. Still nobody hurt him yet. And Canelo's been in there with some big boys. He ate Triple G's biggest bombs and stood right there in front of him. So you're right, man. You're right. Triple G, that's one thing I could tell you about Triple G. He also has that punch resistance. You know what I'm saying? Because Triple G Yo, never been dropped, never been wobbled, never been in a situation where you're like, oh, he's gonna get stopped. Triple G is one of these guys who has that, that warrior mindset and that nasty punch resistance, man. I be telling people, that granite chin. But when we talk about the chin, sometimes we don't realize that, punch resistance is not something that everybody has. It's not something that everybody has. I think that's probably genetics, because you can't really train for that. You could do exercise for your neck and exercise for your jaw if you want to. But at the end of the day, punch resistance, you either got it or you don't. Simple as that. Yo, Triple G, I don't know if you heard this, but I'm hearing that Triple G, he's actually talking with His Excellency Turki Alalshikh to potentially fight Bud Crawford at the end of the year over there in Saudi Arabia. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard it from people who know what they're talking about. What do I think about Murad Gasliev? Listen, man. For now, I would say he's a good fighter. A good fighter for sure. But I have to see him in there, with someone else. Because sometimes you see a guy that he's that good, but it seems like you haven't seen him with the top guys. I already know that he's going to do his thing at a certain level. He's going to beat everybody there. But can he do that at the top level? Is he going to beat, the best fighters? I got to see it. I got to see it. Got to see it to believe it. There's a lot of good boxing going on, my people. A lot of potential matchups. You see Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson. His Excellency Turki Alalshikh might get us that fight. That fight might actually happen. Shakur versus William Zepeda. I think that fight is going to get done. With Oscar and His Excellency, they spoke about it, and it looks like Oscar agreed. So we might get Shakur versus William Zepeda. He's going to unify titles because he's going to snatch that away from Zepeda. And I think now that's even going to make it more interesting to fight Tank Davis. Oh, shit, John Rojas. Yo, I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate the subscription. And I promise I won't let you down. I don't only go live. I also create a lot of boxing content. So if you check out the videos, if you check out the shorts. By the way, my peoples, I also run the press for Santiago's Boxing Association. So I'll be at the amateur tournaments. Yo, I'll be at the neutral corner, my peoples, catching the action right there. Bang, bang, bang. Like, I'll be right there, my peoples. So you want to check out these videos because I'm catching, the elite level amateurs right there. You get to see them fight. You get to see them training. I even go running with the elite level amateurs. So you get to see a lot of behind the scene footage that you normally don't get to see. Because, with boxing, a lot of times we see the fighter when they climb in the ring. We see what they get to do. But I want, I love boxing. And I want to show people as much as I can. So I want to show people, how these guys actually train. How these guys actually sacrifice to get to the top. And I'm giving people that back, that behind the scenes footage. So I appreciate your subscription, my brother. I hope that you enjoy it. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Tank and Pitbull fight. Listen, Tank and Pitbull, I believe that Pitbull caught Tank and a lot of people by surprise. And what I mean by that, if you think about it, Pitbull's already, a household name within the boxing community. However, before he faced Tank, most of us didn't know him. If you're not from the same state as Pitbull, you probably didn't know him either. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know him. I had only seen highlights of him, and that's it. So I think that he caught Tank by surprise. Tank wasn't ready for what he brought to the table, and that's part of why it was such a competitive fight. Also, Tank hurt his hand in the, I think it was in the third or fourth round, and he had to fight the whole fight, basically with one hand. I feel like that's part of the reason why the fight was as close and as competitive as it was. And when the fight happened live, I told people Tank hurt himself. I still remember when he landed that punch, he actually went, boom, ah! He actually screamed out, ah! So I knew he hurt his hand. And I posted about it, yo, Tank hurt his hand. And everybody was like, nah, he not hurt. He good, he good, he good. And then look what happened. When he took off the glove after the fight, his hand looked like a boxing glove. His hand was like this. So, first off, I think Pitbull is a very good fighter. But I believe that if there was a rematch with Tank, Tank would have beat him a lot easier than it went down in the first fight. And, by the way, if you check it out, you'll be able to see a video that I did on Pitbull and Rayo Valenzuela. And I told people, yo, everybody's sleeping on Rayo because we got this whole new social media boxing fan where, the last thing that happened, that's what they judge you on. So they seen Rayo get stopped by Colbert. Oh, he's a hype job. He's overrated. Pitbull's going to wash him. People were saying that Pitbull was going to make it look easy, knock him out. And look how that played out. And I told people, yo, if this fight goes the distance, Rayo's going to outbox Pitbull. He's going to outbox him. He's that good. So that outcome didn't catch me by surprise, yo. I told people like 3-4 years ago, yo, Rayo is going to be a champion. He's for real, for real. And look what happened. That's the way that it played out. Yo, I agree with you, man. Boxing, there's not a lot of things that's harder than boxing, man. People don't understand that. People don't understand, for you to stand in the ring toe-to-toe with somebody and trade blows, yo, it's not an easy thing to do. But if you have a passion for the sport, you're going to do it. Like, let me tell you something interesting, John. Check this out. I boxed as an amateur, right? And I went to the New York Golden Gloves and everything, made it to the semifinals. And I really enjoyed boxing as an amateur, right? But I never turned pro. Okay. Years passed, and I always wanted to turn pro, but I never did. So it was kind of like a regret for me, right? Like, damn, man, I wish I could have turned pro. Well, I met a promoter here in the Dominican Republic at 44 years old. I'm 46, by the way. I met a promoter, and I told him, I was like, yo, I want to fight. Get me a fight. And he was like, I could make that happen for you. Let's make it happen. I was like, let's make it happen. I'm for real. And guess what, bro? At 44 years old, I made my professional debut. And I fought as a professional here in Dominican Republic. Now, I'll tell you right now, you don't even have to ask. I lost that fight. So, I only had that one fight and I lost it. So, my professional record right now is 0-1. Now, at 44 years old, I fought a guy that was like 34 years old. So, he was 10 years younger than me, a little bit taller, longer reach, and stronger than me. So, it was hard for me to figure him out, especially those first 2 rounds. And that's the way it played out. But, yo, I dropped him. He dropped me. It went the distance. He won on points. It was a competitive fight. And everybody who's seen it gave me credit. Like, yo, Jay, you stood in there. You banged with buddy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't there to run or to try to survive or nothing like that. I was there to fight. And I showed that. By the way, my fight is actually in this channel. So if you go to the videos and you scroll down, you run into my fight. So check it out and you see me banging it out. If you've boxed for 10 years, my brother, then you understand this. People who never been involved in boxing in any capacity don't really have the same understanding of the sport than people who actually been in the ring. They just see who won, who lost, what is the weight division, who's the champion, who's undefeated. But what's actually going on, they don't understand it the same way that we do. In most cases, I'm not gonna say always. Golden Gloves here in Texas, yeah, I feel you. So you see, there you go. So you know what it is to go to a tournament and compete. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate you, Ian Becker. That's right. That's right. I tried it. I didn't want to be an old man, in my 50s and my 60s and say, damn, I wish I would have boxed. I wish I could have done it. No, I don't want to have that regret that I never did it. I could look back and say, yo, I stepped in the ring in front of a paying crowd and I put my hands up versus somebody and we fought 4 rounds. We went the distance and we did what we had to do. I had my moments in the fight too. I landed some big shots. Like I said, I dropped them too. So, and to be honest, the boxing thing for me, it was a one-shot deal. I even told the promoter, like, yo, I just want to fight once, man. I can't, become a old man and say, damn, I wish I could have boxed, but I never did. I don't want that to happen. I need to step in the ring. And he made it happen for me. Now, after I lost, the way that I lost, I wanted the rematch. I actually spent, like 3-4 months trying to get the rematch. Like talking to the promoter, like, yo, make that rematch happen. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. But for whatever reason, homeboy didn't want to give me the rematch and it never happened. So I didn't really want to fight nobody else. Like I told you, my people, I'm 46 years old. I'm not looking to have a career as a boxer, But this one guy, man, I really wanted to fight him again and just couldn't get that fight, man. Just couldn't get it. That's what I'm saying, yo. I had to do it. Had to do it. And I'm so glad that I did it, man, because all these years, I just been sitting back thinking like, damn, I wish I could have fought, man. Damn, like, just been itching to do it. And I finally had the opportunity and I did it. And you box, my boy, so you already know that most people, they love talking about boxing, but everybody's not willing to step in that ring and bang it out with somebody. It take a whole different type of person to do that. We that type of person. You know what I'm saying? So check it though, because I kind of jumped out of subject with all that. Who do you guys have, my peoples? Devin Haney, Tank Davis or Shakur Stevenson? Who do you got? Yo, by the way, man, Devin Haney sucker punching somebody and not even wobbling him, that's a bad look. That's a very bad look. I'm already seeing a bunch of pillow hands memes floating around because of that. Like, if you're a pro boxer, you don't sucker punch a civilian and he just stand there looking at you. That was a bad look for Devin. I just had to put that in there. You're right. Boxing does take a lot of discipline, John. That's all facts. In my case, I actually run. I became a runner. Like, I love running. So I do run a lot. I run a lot of miles. Maidana, bro. But look at you know what? Maidana, in reality, he's a Cinderella story. You know why? Because his performance versus Broner and a few other guys landed him the Floyd Mayweather fight. And he was so competitive in that first fight that led to people saying, yo, he beat Floyd. And Floyd ended up giving him a rematch. So Maidana got 2 paydays that were so big that he was able to retire a millionaire in Mexico. He's a millionaire. So that's as good as it gets. Come back home. Yo, trust me, I'm coming back home. I can't tell you when because, I have to follow a legal process and all that. I'm coming back home. Don't worry, my guy. I'll be back. You see, unfortunately, when I was out there, marijuana was frowned upon. And getting arrested for marijuana was a big thing in those days. Now, marijuana was decriminalized in the state of New York, decriminalized in the state of New Hampshire. So basically, your boy criminal record doesn't exist in New York anymore. I'm a good citizen now. I'm an outstanding citizen based on the new laws. So it's a process I'm going to have to follow to get my visa back and all that stuff. But I'll be back. You could take that to the bank. Yo, that's because, you know why you feel that way? Because you not only follow boxing, but you competed. You know what it is to step in the ring. And I'm pretty sure when you talk boxing with people who never boxed, you probably get frustrated too. Because people who never boxed, oftentimes they assume things, but they don't really understand it like that. To me, when you've been in boxing, it's a big difference because you actually have that insight of what goes down inside the ring. You understand what it is when you timing an opponent or when you setting up an opponent or when you make a mistake and you pay for that mistake. There's a lot of little things that if you never box, you're never really going to understand it. You're not. Not only that, yo, I'll give you an example. I lost that fight, right? And to keep it 100, something that boxers never say, bro, I was messed up for like a week after that fight. From blocking punches, yo, my arms was hurting for like a week. My legs was completely shot for days. So boxing also, when there's a fight, people think after the fight, all you have is, if you have a black eye, that's what you got from it. No, yo, you walk away from that fight and you might be looking at days of pain. And imagine, I was only in a 4-rounder. I was in a 4-rounder. Imagine people who've been in fights for 12 rounds. That recovery time is tough. It's difficult to recover. Like, there's people who win fights, and even though they won, they still have to recover because they took a lot of punishment. So, people don't understand the process of recovery because fighters, when they, finish that fight, some of them even go into hiding. Like, you won't even see them. Why do you think sometimes two people fight and the first video you see about them will be like 2 weeks down the line? Yo, they've been resting. They've been recovering. They've been in pain. It's a lot. It's a lot to go through. Boxing, yo, it's a tough sport. I'm talking about, yo, after my fight, I still remember like 2-3 days later, yo, I was throwing up, babe. I was going to the bathroom to throw up. I had a headache that was nonstop. My legs were shot. My arms was hurting. Nobody talk about that. Nobody talk about what, the fighters go through after a fight. Ooh, Camacho was my guy. But let me tell you something interesting, though. I used to love Camacho, and then he went versus Julio Cesar Chavez, and I didn't like him anymore because Chavez was my guy. And he was very, Camacho was very, he'll be disrespectful if he had to be. He had a big mouth. And when he started being disrespectful towards Chavez, I was like, I don't like you anymore. I don't like this guy anymore. But I always liked him, man. I always, he was so flashy, flamboyant, his style of boxing. Camacho was that dude. And you know what? Camacho Jr., that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? If you check it out, matter of fact, check out the last video that I uploaded. I'm talking with Camacho Jr., who's coincidentally going to make his return to the ring very soon. Yes, sir. Macho Camacho Jr. is going to make his return to the ring. And should he win that fight, he told me that there's going to be a lot of options that he's willing to explore. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is one of the options that he'll be looking at. So think about that, yo. We got Macho Camacho and Julio Cesar Chavez, well, like 30-something years ago, and we might actually get Macho Camacho Jr. and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. now in the present. Like, that would be crazy. You know, even though both Camacho Jr. and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. been out of boxing a little bit, that's a fight I love to see. I'm super interested in that fight. Yeah, man, rest in peace. And, I'm glad that the people that killed Camacho got caught. To my understanding, they did get caught in Puerto Rico. Damn, man, that's a sad loss for boxing. Obviously, a sad loss for the Camacho family. Macho Camacho was still young when he got taken out, man. He was like, still, could have gave boxing a lot, because Camacho, even after he was no longer in boxing, you could see that he loved the sport. I think that he could have, helped a lot of fighters. He could have been a great trainer. He could have been a promoter. He could have been something in boxing that would have just brought interest to the sport. Just his personality, his knowledge, his accomplishments. So I wish Camacho was here to share a lot with us, and unfortunately they took him away from us. Yo, he was a lot of people's favorite fighter because, he was just so fast. He was so fast, man. Like, you don't see a lot of people with that type of hand speed. And then he was fast and he had power in both hands. He could fold you with the left. He could fold you with the right. Can't sleep on Macho Camacho, man. He was the truth. Let's see. Give me a second, my brother. Let me grab something real quick. I'm still with you. Hold on. Yep, you already know what it is, man. Your boy's back. Something that I wanted to show you, my people. Look. On Instagram, you can find me at J_Smith_134. And on Facebook, you can find me as JSmiff. Jay Smith. So on the different platforms, I drop exclusive content. So if you go to my Facebook, you'll see videos that I put on there that you may only find them on Facebook. Same thing on Instagram. I post a lot of stories on Instagram, and some of the stories that I post on Instagram may not go on YouTube or on Facebook. You'll only see it there. So, if you enjoy the content, Box Center, subscribe, share the content, click on that like button, my people. Those things really help. A lot of times people don't click on the like button, like, whatever. But guess what? When you click on that like button, that sets the algorithm going. And just because you clicked on that button, somebody else might get this video. Somebody else might be going through the feed and get this video. So y'all already know what it is, my people. This is it right here. This is the best boxing content, period. And y'all gonna find out. Take my word for it. His Excellency Turki Alalshikh. Yo, this dude has showed up to boxing and done what needed to be done. He's making the fights happen. So dare I say, His Excellency Turki Alalshikh is needed. We needed him. A lot of fights was never gonna get made because this promotional company and this promotional company. Now look at that. Golden Boy and Matchroom have already aligned themselves with His Excellency Turki Alalshikh. So that already opens up a lot of possible matchups that we would not have gotten before. That's the only reason we're going to get William Zepeda and Shakur Stevenson. See? So I think PBC is going to have no choice but to join the mix. Top Rank is going to end up joining the mix as well. And before you know it, because of His Excellency Turki Alalshikh, we're going to see a lot of fighters crossing over to the other side of the street to fight each other. So I'm glad that he's a part of boxing. I'm happy to see him, trying to get us the big fights. And let's get it, man. Boxing is going to be real interesting going forward with His Excellency, making things happen. Making it happen. Another thing, my peoples, that I wanted to talk about. Well, I mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to talk about it. Did y'all see Devin Haney sucker punch that guy? Do I think these fights are getting bought? Look, man, corruption has been a part of boxing since boxing started. The only thing is that it's very hard for me to accuse or suggest that a fighter was bought, that a fight, the outcome was paid for. I can't make that claim because I don't have any type of proof to back me up. I know that to me, it's easier to say, the cherry picking that we see, the picking an opponent, you're going to win. That's something that we see a lot in boxing. As far as a fighter or a fight being bought and sold, there's reason for us to suspect that it has or it does happen, but I don't have anything, that can back me up for me to make that claim, Like, I'm not willing to put myself out there and make that claim because when anybody question me, I'm going to just have to say, well, that's what I think. And that's what you think is really not good enough, to hold you down in a debate, in an argument. So I try to, if there's nothing there that I can hold on to say, look, this happened, then I kind of try to stay away from it. I do know that there is a lot of cherry picking going on in boxing. I do know that, there's ways that they make a fighter seem a lot better than what he actually is. And as soon as that fighter step up with one of the good fighters, they get pummeled. So I'll tell you that. So I'm from the Dominican Republic. However, the reason you hear that accent in my voice is because I grew up in New York. So I actually moved to New York when I was 8 years old. And I lived there for 20 plus years. So that's why you see the accent. But I am from Dominican Republic, and that's where I live at right now. That's where I run the press for the Boxing Association for my city. So right now, I currently live in the Dominican Republic, and let's see what the future holds, because I may move around a bit, because boxing has already taken me to a few different places. I already been to Curacao, beautiful country. And I'll be visiting other countries. I'll be going to South America at some point, which I'm looking forward to. But let's see where in the world boxing is gonna take me, because it's definitely gonna push me around to a few different places, and I'm looking forward to that. Oh shit, Mexican American. Yeah. So check it, you see? That's why it's easy for us to communicate. Growing up in New York, listen, I lived in an apartment, and the apartment next to me, they was Mexicans, right? Yo, since I was 8 years old till I was like 13 or 14, my best friend was Mexican. Like I used to hang, well, Mexican American. He was born in the US, but both of his parents came from Mexico, right? And my best friend that lived next door, I'm talking about we used to go to school together, cut school to hang out with the girls together, go play basketball together, learn how to roller skate together, all that shit. And it was my boy, my boy from Mexico. And that's in New York. There's a lot of Mexicans, and Dominicans and Mexicans. We always hanging out together out there. So shout out to my Mexican brothers in Texas, and of course in NYC. Definitely. Yeah, you know what, man? Shout out to my Mexican brothers in Mexico, B. That's a country that I've been wanting to visit, and I will. I don't know when, but I gotta go to Mexico. I got to go to Mexico. That's just a fact. But oh, you're welcome, my brother. You're welcome. And yo, like I said, check out the Instagram. If you check out the Instagram, you'll see, some and the cool thing about IG is that I make a lot of 1-minute videos. So it doesn't take a long time to watch it. You go in there real quick, you could check a video and say, okay, but a lot of times people go in to check one video and they check out 3, 4, 5 videos because they're short videos and they're interesting. If you notice, I don't talk about what everybody's talking about, or I don't give the same opinion that everybody's giving. I'll come in here with something different every single time. And when you start watching the content, you realize that. So people keep watching it. They think they're going to watch one video. They end up watching 4 or 5 of them. Okay. I feel you. If you don't got Instagram or Facebook, I would say, bro, you should have at least Instagram. And the reason I say you should have at least Instagram is because a lot of our favorite fighters are on Instagram. That's how I stay up to date with what they're doing, how are they going about their personal life, what are they up to? Because remember, when somebody becomes that famous, you don't just want to see them inside the ring. You want to see how they training. You want to see when they, if they go running, or if they're in the gym, or if they sparring and they upload any footage from that. So I think you should at least consider getting Instagram, just so that you can follow your favorite fighters. So for what, check out. So visit Starline. I'm not sure what was the question. You said for what, check out. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. But if you're talking about the Instagram and Facebook, I would say check it out because the content is fire. Because the videos, and also when I create content, I use images, I use letters, I use a lot of things to make the video interesting for you guys. So when I'm live, all you see is this feed right here. But when you see the content that I create, you get a lot more than that. So I hope you guys check it out and you see what I'm talking about. I'm not playing around. I'm that dope. And trust me when I tell you, even though, I'm not famous, a lot of people don't know me, I have like 300 subscribers, right, I'm not famous. But you will be surprised how many world champions be checking out my content. How many world champions know who I am? I promise you, it's quite a few of them. So when you see someone who doesn't have a large following, is not famous, is not a known person anywhere, and you have world champions checking out what he has to say, yo, there has to be something there, right? Why are they interested in my opinion? You know why? Because it's a legit opinion. You may not agree with everything I say, but you have to accept that what I say always comes with substance. I don't just say stuff to say it. I don't just say stuff because that's what everybody's saying. Nope. That's not what I do. If I tell you something, it means that I analyzed it and that I've come to a conclusion based on my understanding. Like, let me give you one of my takes. I say that Shakur Stevenson is going to beat Tank Davis. Now, if you believe that Tank Davis is going to beat Shakur, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I get that, and I understand why. Now, here's the reason I'm going to tell you why Shakur beats Tank. Go back in history and look at the great boxers who faced the great punchers. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. Who won that fight? The boxer. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. Who won that fight? The boxer. So all I'm saying is that throughout history, when you put the great boxer and the great puncher together, oftentimes the great boxer walks away with the W. Simple as that. We have to take into consideration, a lot of people say Tank is going to knock him out. Tank is going to knock him out. And that can happen because Tank has knockout power. But we have to consider the fact that Shakur Stevenson is the best defensive fighter of this era. The hardest fighter to hit, the most unhittable fighter. And then you take into account that Shakur Stevenson hasn't even been tested in his entire career. Nobody has even tested him. He's already beaten multiple world champions. Beat Oscar Valdez. Beat Jamel Herring. And these world champions didn't even test him. So if you're looking at a boxer who's never even been tested by anybody he faced, never been in trouble, never been dropped, never been wobbled, you have to understand that he has a type of skill to outbox Tank for 12 rounds. Now, if you don't want to agree with, with my prediction that he's going to beat Tank, that's cool. Because I'm predicting, you can also predict otherwise. But you have to understand that I have a sound logic behind my prediction. I'm not just saying, well, Shakur's going to win because I'm a fan of Shakur. I'm a fan of Tank too. I'm a fan of both fighters. Sometimes I tell people, yo, Shakur's going to win that fight. And they be like, oh, man, you be hating on Tank. You hating. I'm not hating on Tank, yo. I tell you that right now. I'm a fan of Tank Davis. Been a fan of Tank. And I'm a fan of Shakur. But I'm telling you, based on both of their styles, I believe Shakur's going to win that fight. He's going to go the distance, and Shakur's going to outbox him for 12 rounds. That's how I see it. So I have a logic behind that. Now, if you think Tank Davis is going to beat Shakur, that's cool. But what is your logic behind it? Is your logic, oh, well, he hits hard, he's going to knock him out? That's a whack logic. You got to have a better explanation than that. Yo, John Rojas, man, you my brother too, man. For real. You in Texas, I'm in the Dominican Republic. That don't matter. We been in the ring. We exchange blows with an opponent. We love boxing. That's all it takes. You my guy, bro. Real talk. Yo, defense. When you take, that's why I mentioned Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Just because Marvin Hagler was that knockout puncher that's folding opponents. But he couldn't do it to Sugar Ray Leonard. Why? Because Sugar Ray was a very slick boxer, had the crazy footwork, and then, the punch placement, the accuracy, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. So that's what I see with Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is a Sugar Ray Leonard type of talent. He's an all-time great type of talent. He's going to be an all-time great when it's all said and done. So if you understand that Shakur is going to be, an all-time great and has the best defense in the game, then you have to also see the possibility of him beating Tank Davis. You have to see the possibility of him outboxing Tank Davis. Look what just happened with Pitbull and Rayo. A lot of people thought the power puncher, Pitbull, was going to knock Rayo out. People was telling me Pitbull was going to wash him. That Pitbull was going to wash Rayo in 4 or 5 rounds. And look, Rayo smoked him. Oh my goodness. Yo, Tito Trinidad. Woo. Man, let me tell you something. Tito Trinidad is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Period, point blank. In my opinion, Tito Trinidad is arguably the best welterweight fighter ever. Ever. Think about it. Tito Trinidad never lost a fight in the welterweight division. Although we know what happened with Oscar. If we're being honest, that was a very close fight. And I thought that Oscar won that fight. I thought Oscar beat Trinidad, but he made a mistake. If you're old enough to have seen that fight, Oscar gave up the championship rounds. I guess his corner told him that he had it in the bag, and he was just, he gave up those rounds, just running around, and Trinidad chasing him. So I think that, number one, that wasn't a good look for a champion to want to win like that. And number two, I think that's what, I know that's where Trinidad was able to take it away from him. That's where it happened. I'll be honest with you, I liked Oscar. I liked Oscar when he turned pro, and they started, with the Golden Boy and just seeing him, be champion after champion. And the thing that I like the most about Oscar is that he always was willing to get that action from everybody and anybody. You got to think about it, man. Oscar De La Hoya fought Floyd Mayweather. He fought Manny Pacquiao. He fought Sugar Shane Mosley. He fought Tito Trinidad. He fought Bernard Hopkins. So Oscar De La Hoya, one thing we can say about him, man, he was about that smoke. He was going to fight everybody and anybody. I don't even know how many Hall of Famers is in De La Hoya's resume. So, for that reason, I really enjoyed, watching Oscar De La Hoya. But Tito Trinidad, man, his style of boxing, the way that he would just stand right there and trade with his opponents, his movement. I love Tito Trinidad, man. Let me tell you something interesting about that. I don't know if you were aware or not, but after the Tito Trinidad and De La Hoya fight, De La Hoya was trying to get the rematch. De La Hoya lasted like a year trying to get that rematch. In fact, he even flew to Puerto Rico, because at that time he wasn't living in Puerto Rico at that time. He flew to Puerto Rico to talk to Trinidad's pops to try to get that rematch, and they refused to give it to him. Now, I think that they should have given him the rematch just because the fight was so close. From then on, Tito ended up moving up in weight, fighting David Reed, which he pummeled David Reed in the 154 division. But then he kept moving up. And what happened? He lost for the first time to Winky Wright. When he lost to Winky Wright, they was offering him like $30 million to fight De La Hoya, which would have been a career payday. He turned down millions and millions of dollars for a De La Hoya rematch, and then got beat by Winky Wright for way less money. So that was a bad decision. That was a bad decision. In fact, I believe that Trinidad should have just stayed at 154. He found success there. He was a champion there. We see that happens to a lot of fighters where they keep moving up, 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 and eventually they're gonna get to a division where they too small for their opponent. Trinidad, he wasn't doing nothing against Bernard Hopkins, and neither was De La Hoya. They should have never moved all the way to the 160s. I agree, man. Tito was a great fighter. That's why I tell people, to me, Tito is arguably the greatest welterweight fighter ever. He never lost at the 147 division. Never took a L. He has the second most title defenses in the welterweight division. In fact, Errol Spence was trying to catch up to him. I think Errol Spence was going to tie Tito Trinidad if he would have beat Crawford. So, yo, Tito's the truth. Ooh, Miguel Cotto. Damn, you just bringing up the legends, my boy. You just bringing up the big dog. Miguel Cotto. I put in Puerto Rico's all-time greats, I put Miguel Cotto right there below Tito Trinidad. I put him right there. You know, there's people that put him above Trinidad. I put him right there, right below him, because I can't put anybody past Trinidad. Like, he's really that dude. Here we go. So check me out, my peoples. I'm going to be dropping off for this live. Got some stuff to do. You already know it's Sunday. But first off, big shout out to John Rojas. Yo, John, el manito mío. Oh, I know the guy that put his stuff in his hands. Can't remember his name right now. He Mexican. Damn, that mostly ended up beating the crap out of dude too. I can't remember his name right now. But Cotto got his rematch and beat the crap out of him in the rematch. El manito mío, John Roja, de verdad que sí se aprecia. Yo, my peoples, I appreciate you tuning in. You already know, man. Box Center. Your favorite boxers? Favorite boxers show. Later on tonight, I'm going to be going live again. Come in and check me out. We got some good stuff for you guys. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy JSmiff in the flesh. Peace.